Madam Speaker, I'm most delighted to yield 10 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from North Carolina, the lead sponsor of this legislation, and again commend him for his tremendous leadership.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. McIntyre, for 10 minutes.
Thank you. I ask Madam Chairman permission to revise and extend remarks.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chairman Ray Hall, the members of the Lumbee Tribe, many of whom are here from the Tribal Council, and I appreciate your support, your strong support of the Lumbee Tribe in the past, and your willingness to co-sponsor this bill for federal recognition to bring the long overdue justice to the recognition of this tribe. Madam Speaker, I would like to ask unanimous consent to place into the record 4 letters from all of North Carolina's governors, both Democratic and Republican, 32 years, in recognition and desire that this tribe be federally recognized. Tribe be federally recognized. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My colleagues, I was born and reared in Robeson County, North Carolina, the primary home of the Lumbee people. I go virtually every weekend and have the high honor of representing about 40,000 of the 55,000 Lumbees who live in the county. In fact, there are more than any other racial or Indians are my friends, many of whom I've known all my life. They are important to the success of everyday life, not only in Robeson County, but throughout southeastern North Carolina. Our entire these letters from our governors and their contributions indeed to our nation. From medicine and law to business and banking, from the farms and factories to the schools and the churches. We had a Lumbee Indian come and open the National Day of Prayer right here as our guest chaplain the first Thursday in May. From government, military, our veterans, community service to entertainment and athletic accomplishments, the Lumbees have made tremendous contributions to our county, our state, and indeed our nation. In fact, in my home county, the former sheriff, the current clerk of court, register of deeds, school superintendent, several county commissioners, including the chairman, school board members, and the person who represents me and my family in the state legislature are all Lumbee Indians. Also, judges on both the district court and superior court bench are Lumbee Indians. In other words, Lumbee Indians have achieved great accomplishments. Their contributions have been recognized from the city councils and county commissioners to the Chamber of Commerce to our regional medical center, and the list goes on. They all have endorsed recognition of this tribe. But let me say this in a broader sense. I've personally visited with over 300 of my colleagues, many of you listening back in your offices right now and your legislative directors and chiefs of staff, and we've talked about this. In one aspect or another, the United States Congress has been dealing with this issue since 1888. During that time, Congress has directed the Department of Interior to examine the tribe's history. 11 times. 11 times this tribe has been examined by the Department of the Interior. This is not about going around the process. It's not about skipping over the BIA. It's not about setting a precedent that some other tribe is going to say, oh, we'll just skip the process. This tribe's gone through it, folks. They've been examined over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and we can go on and say that 11 times. So why are we still debating this? Well, in 1956, in fact, the year I was born, it's been that long now, 53 years later, 1956, this Congress recognized the Lumbee in name only, but did not complete the recognition process. You know, there were 2 other tribes in America that had this dilemma, the Tiwas of Texas, and also our friends from Arizona, the Osweopakwe. These 2 tribes, Congress went back and completed the recognition, 1987 and also back in 1978. So now there's 1 tribe in America left in this situation. 1 tribe. This is not setting a precedent for other tribes. In fact, the solicitor from the Department of Interior said the only way to resolve this issue is to go back to Congress. Yeah, you've been through the BIA 11 times. BIA can't do it. Go back to Congress, because what Congress started, Congress should finish. And that's why we're back here today. We know in the 103rd, 104th, and yes, just in our last session of Congress, the 110th, we passed this legislation. 2/3 majority, Republicans and Democrats, liberals, conservatives, and moderates. Because this isn't about philosophy or partisan politics. This is about doing the right thing. And to think I go home on weekends, and every weekend the folks from the Lumbee Tribe wonder, why doesn't our government still recognize we exist? We have tribal members here today. As a nation, that 55,000 people who have died for this country as veterans and served our country in the military and law enforcement and the hospitals and banks and farms and factories and all the other places I mentioned earlier are people that deserve the dignity of recognition. This is not about gaming. Please hear me, friends and colleagues listening in the offices. They have agreed to prohibit gaming in the enactment. So if this is not about going around the process, and it's not about gaming, and it's not about a reservation of land, because they are fully integrated in society, as I've already mentioned, integrated in society, as I've already mentioned. They're our judges, they're our law enforcement, and our bankers back home in North Carolina. What is it about then? It's about getting the politics that delayed this bill the last 53 years, and let's get on with it and complete the recognition that delayed this bill the last 53 years, and let's get on with it and complete the recognition that the solicitor has said only we can complete. It is a unique situation. They are the only tribe in America in this situation. It is not an antecedent for any other argument about any other tribe. Today, our North Carolina senators, on a bipartisan basis, support this bill. Today, 185 of my colleagues have co-sponsored, on a bipartisan basis, this bill. Today, the White House recognizes that this is an injustice that, yes, must finally be resolved. If political leadership has stopped it since 1956, political leadership ought to help correct it, and thank God that they do that now. We can take rectifying this wrong of 53 years ago. When we passed it, those other times that I mentioned, 3 other times, it got to the Senate only to face inaction. Last year they, quote, ran out of time before the general election. Well, we don't want that, and that's why we're getting this done today, so that they'll have the rest of this year and all of next year, hopefully, to finally give this tribe its long overdue recognition. What Congress started, Congress should finish. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, let me urge this House not to delay anymore. Justice delayed is justice. The evidence is clear, cogent, convincing. The examinations have occurred. We have heard the advisory opinion from the solicitor. We know that only Congress can resolve this. It is time to say yes. Yes to dignity and respect. Yes to fundamental fairness. Yes to decency. Yes to honor. Yes to federal recognition. Let's do what is right. People in America are tired of bickering in Washington. They're tired of people pointing fingers and dreaming up excuses not to get things done. You know, let's send a message today that we're willing to do the right thing to correct inequities that have occurred in our history. We have conservatives and liberals and moderates and Republicans and Democrats on this bill, so it is not a philosophical or political argument anymore. It's only about doing the right thing. I challenge all of my colleagues in our United States Congress to do the right thing. It's time for discrimination to end and recognition to begin.
The question is on passage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed.
Madam Chairman.
What purpose does the gentleman from Washington rise?
I ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
Or maybe not. Mr. Blumenauer.
On this vote, the yeas are 240, the nays are 179. The bill is passed without objection.